Have you heard of anyone named Ronald Reed? I briefly mentioned his story in my previous video, which if you haven't watched, you might want to check it out. And what about a woman named Sylvia Bloom? If you haven't heard of them, you're probably wondering why I brought up these names and why we're going to be talking about them today. So we've all heard of mega successful investors like Warren Buffett or Cathie Wood, but these quote-unquote little guys are less known but just as outstanding. Hey guys, it's newFire, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the success stories of two lesser-known investors who are ordinary people with ordinary jobs, but possessing extraordinary mindsets. The first investor we're going to be talking about in this video is Ronald Reed, a janitor who amassed a fortune in the millions, followed by secretary Sylvia Bloom, who analyzed what investors did and built her own fortune beside them. Want to know how they did it? Keep watching to find out. So for those who haven't heard the name Ronald Reed, he was a longtime Vermont resident who was an ordinary character with an ordinary job. And in fact, no one knew about his prosperous investments until after he passed. And it was revealed then that he held stocks in some big names like Wells Fargo, Procter & Gamble, JP Morgan Chase, AT&T, GM, J&J, and many more. And do any of these names sound familiar? And another fun fact, Warren Buffett's portfolio also holds or had stakes in all of these companies. So that's fine and well, but how did an ordinary janitor get the money to invest in so many stocks? Well, if you watched some of my earlier videos, that's exactly how he did it. For one, he lived well below his means, driving second-hand cars, wearing old clothing, rarely eating out, etc., etc. And you don't have to go that far, but by living on less than you earn, he shows that if you just save up the leftover money, you can invest it. After that, it was a whole lot of waiting. He held his stocks not for days or months, but for decades. And in these aspects, he strikes a resemblance to the investing habits of Warren Buffett. Both worked long and hard and invested whatever money they had. Then they utilized long-term investing and held their positions for decades. So that was Ronald Reed, but now let's talk about Sylvia Bloom. They both have similar stories. Both weren't born into any wealth, but by the end of their lives had secretly built up an $8 million fortune just by saving and investing. Sylvia Bloom grew up during the Great Depression and was a college graduate who worked as a legal secretary at a Wall Street law firm. And that's where her intelligence comes into play. She handled her boss's investments, and whatever stocks they bought, she bought too. And as someone who grew up during the Great Depression, she understood the importance of a work ethic early on and how to save money and be smart about it. She lived on only the amount of money she needed and didn't live excessively, despite her sizable earnings. And by investing the money she saved, she had earned over $8 million through the course of her lifetime. Similar to both Ronald Reed and Warren Buffett, she held these investments for decades. They also all share the quality of philanthropy. Both Ronald Reed and Sylvia Bloom donated their entire fortunes to organizations that needed it, and Warren Buffett has already given billions to charity and committed to give away 99% of his fortune. In school, we learned that we had to test a hypothesis at least 3 times to assume that it could be true. And we've got 3 cases here: Sylvia Bloom, Ronald Reed, and Warren Buffett, all of whom played the same tactics to show us what we need to do if we hope to grow our personal wealth the way that they were able to. When you think about it, Ronald Reed, Warren Buffett, and Sylvia Bloom are 3 people cut from the same cloth, but their financial situations were different, resulting in different portfolio outcomes. While Warren Buffett's achievements are incredibly notable, he started out with $100K from friends and family, whereas both Ronald Reed and Sylvia Bloom earned and invested their own, however much less, earnings from the beginning. Their stories just goes to show that you don't have to have an Ivy education or come from a wealthy background. All you have to do is be smart with your money and have lots of patience. Lots of it. And that was the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for my next one. This is newFire, signing out.